Hi everybody, it's 9:23. In 1 year Minnesota Live, we did the math. We think we brought you more than 175 different cities.
We went to 175 different cities?
Yes, and in year 2, we want to showcase, and we're going to do this all in 1 year, the other 700 in the state. We have very lofty goals.
All right, we may not hit up all of them, but we are going to take you to one town in Stearns County where we haven't talked yet. Coldspring, just southwest of St. Cloud, is home to 4,200 residents, and it's also home to one of the largest natural stone manufacturers in all of North America. And it's celebrating 125 years in Minnesota next year.
So once known as Rockville Granite Company, the company has since renamed itself after the city. It now goes by Coldspring USA. Dan Ray is their Senior Vice President of Sales. He joins us now via Zoom to talk more about the company's history in our state. Dan, good to have you with us. We appreciate it.
Great to be here. Thank you.
So tell us a little bit about how Coldspring got its start.
Well, Coldspring, it's a natural stone manufacturing facility. It's like you said, it's headquartered in Coldspring, but we've got manufacturing plants around the country and in southern Manitoba, and also 30 operating quarries in Canada, New York, Texas, California, South Dakota. Then here in Minnesota, it started with a Scottish stonecutter by the name of Henry Nair Alexander. And they would migrate to the U.S. to cut stone where their natural deposits were easily accessible. Minnesota is rather unique, especially the central part of the state. Not only is it close to the nucleus of the continent of North America, it also was benefited by the scraping of a lot of topsoil, overburden as we call it, by the glacial activity over the last 70 or 75,000 years ago. So he found a deposit outside of Rockville. He eventually ended up buying that. And then at that time, there were migrant stoneworkers who came from Scotland and other stoneworking areas across the world. And then they'd move on. And he wanted to find a more stable company and a stable workforce. So he started tapping into the agricultural part of central Minnesota, where there's a lot of farms out there and a lot of 5 or 6 sons where they can't all carry on. So he started hiring local people and found out that, first of all, the work ethic is there. The understanding of heavy machinery is there. Harvesting natural resources is there. And was able to create quite a company over the years that's thrived for this long. And we've got generations, 4th and 5th generation people here working at Coldspring.
Well, Dan, we saw some of the video and the images of the plant, and you can see, of course, countertops, which I think come to mind when you hear of, granite and stone, but also some really, really big pieces of stone, too. And from what I understand, you guys have been part of some pretty significant projects, right?
Yes, it's fantastic. Not only on the memorial side of the business, where you see the larger buildings for private families called private estates, but also all the other monuments, upright and flush markers. But then there's the civic memorials, notably on the mall in Washington, D.C. You can look at Martin Luther King, you can look at FDR, World War II, Vietnam, and notably the Korean War Memorial, which we just finished the Wall of Remembrance and was dedicated this summer. And it's great because Minnesotans come out there, and the Park Service does an excellent job of saying where these materials come from. And they say that it's a company out of Coldspring, Minnesota, over here. And I've heard people come back, and they're very knowledgeable about the product. And the granite, naturally, enduring beauty, maintenance-free, very sustainable product. It's the first choice when you want a legacy or something to last.
Well, Dan, interest of full disclosure, I was in Coldspring this spring, and I had never been, and I'm like, what in the world are all the granite's everywhere. Like, you come there and you realize quickly that, like, it's such a big part of the community. Can you elaborate? You touched on this a little bit ago, but can you elaborate a little bit more about how the geography of the region is kind of ripe for being able to find this kind of material?
Yeah, it's in the central part of the continent, a nucleus. So there's a large craton, which is a large mass outcropping of stone. And stone is everywhere, but we've had the benefit of glacial activity. It's the cost to access the material. So they've done a great job with 3 or 4 great pushes to take that topsoil and send it down south and expose these outcroppings. The Canadian Shield is a large stone deposit or stone area that stretches all the way up to the Hudson Bay. So it's ripe with granites, and then we also quarry limestone down in the Minnesota Valley, which is sediments of the rivers over so many years, and calcium product there. So, but natural granite is abundant. It's just where it's accessible is where you see the granite stone manufacturing facilities pop up.
Dan, what do you love about Cold Spring? Why do you think it's a great place to have this business? What's your favorite part about it? I mean, you mentioned the people.
It is, and it's the people that we have around the area, the pride in what we do. When you look at working with granite, it's a special breed and emotion and passion that it takes to create something from the ground and lasting testimony either to a community or a private individual. And the other thing is exposure to so many different projects around the world. Essentially, they're in the United States heavily on the commercial side, but the product is shipped out of our facility over to China for use inside China, the Asian Pacific Rim area, then Southeast Asia. Quite a bit of material has gone there, plus over into Europe. And we also, not only our own quarries, we also access other quarries around the world. So if an architect or contractor desires a specific color, we'll send our people over to inspect the quarry, buy the blocks, and then manufacture it back to Cold Spring, and then bring it to the project site. So it's unique in our processes, but it's so diverse in all the customers that we serve, and the understanding you're creating something that's going to be there essentially forever.
Oh, isn't that true?
Yeah. I'm still wrapping my head around the Korean War Memorial. I mean, that's
Right.
incredible. What an honor. Dan, thank you so much for your time this morning. We appreciate it.
A pleasure having us. Come and see us.
You got it.
Some nice restaurants and breweries there too.
Yeah.
One very nice new brewery. It wasn't open when I was there.
I
but
was
I
gonna
was very
say, you went.
disappointed. It was too early.